Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm back with Timmy, and for today's video I have the beautiful Paula with me. Paula is such a good friend of mine and I'm so excited to have her back on my channel, and this look is going to be all about beautiful skin. So really focusing on complexion. Really taking your time to create that perfect canvas and creating a really timeless classic look that's going to be the perfect kind of starting point to anything you want to do. But of course, this is going to be more on the glam side, so there is color correcting involved, a lot of different undertones and layering to really create that perfected base. So if you want to see how I created this look on Paula, then please keep watching for an in-depth tutorial. And I'll be seeing you in next week's video. Bye.
As I mentioned, we have the beautiful Paula here, and the focus is definitely all about the skin. So let's get started with skin prep. I'm using a hydrating mist all over the face and neck. This acts as a refresher. Then applying a hyaluronic acid all over the skin. Fairly simple. If you're using other serums, you can skip this step, as most serums contain hyaluronic acid. But I'm keeping things pretty straightforward ingredients-wise, and I'm just focusing on hydrating textures and formulas. So after applying this, I'm massaging it in. And like I say, really take the time to assess the skin and the texture of the skin so that I can figure out what products to use for the base and the complexion. And giving the skin a tap all over. And don't forget to take things down the neck as well. For an extra treat, again, this is so amazing during the summer because Dubai gets so hot. I'm using these cryo globes that I've kept in the fridge. And I really like to massage them all over the face and focusing on the pressure points, kind of targeting lymphatic drainage and following the contours of the face. So on the cheekbones and along the jawline. This shouldn't drag or tug at your skin. So if you feel that, apply more of that mist to create that slip between your skin and the product. Repeating the same on the other side. So more about this look, I really wanted to create a classic neutral look on Paula because we've actually never done a full soft glam look before. We've had the shimmer, we've had a bit of the liner, we've had a red lip. So we do a bit of that during the campaigns, but usually the skin is much more dialed back and minimal. So we were both really excited for this look. And I definitely think this is my favorite look that I've done on Paula. So now moving on to eye cream. And I'm applying this very rich eye cream that feels almost like a balm, tapping it in to melt that product. Because I'm going for a full glam base, I want to make sure the skin is prepped and deeply moisturized. That means I'm taking my time with skin prep and paying attention to the areas that would crease, get dry, or flake. And because I've worked with Paula so many times, I can really customize and cater this entire look to fit all of her skin and makeup concerns, which is pretty awesome. For moisturizer, I'm going with something nourishing that's not too light or too thick. It's kind of in the middle. And I'm applying this all over and on the neck as well. This is going to be a fairly basic moisturizer, which I really like and prefer. So it's not going to have any major active ingredients that could disrupt the skin, especially if you're working on a new client, a new model. And I'm really working this into the skin and further massaging her face. Paula was on Accutane, so her skin has gone through multiple different stages throughout our looks. So you'll see that the main focus is just very nourishing barrier repair products, soothing and moisturizing. Paula has the most incredible features, so again, I take this time to really think about what I wanted to go for today in terms of a look. And with her sleek hair and glowing skin, all I could think about was creating a timeless glam that just screams supermodel, because we have to. And now that I've really taken the time with the skin and skin prep, I'm sealing the lips with a thick layer of lip balm, applied generously all over and left on like a mask. I'm taking the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless filter and applying this all over the high points of the face with a brush and stippling it in. You can obviously do this after foundation, but I wanted to just melt in with the foundation for a subtle glow that peeks through. I should have done this before, but I also want to mattify certain areas that I know Paula would get shiny in. So basically the center T-zone of the face. For mattifying primers, I like to very gently apply them and pat them in, making sure I'm not rubbing them away. This is the Milk Makeup Pore Eclipse Primer, which I love. You really want to push that product into the targeted areas for best results. And as you can see, that's already completely taking away the shine in a very natural way. And after I'm done pressing and patting that into all the areas that I want, I can move on to foundation. This foundation has become one of my favorites in my kit because I love the undertones and the finish. This is the Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin Foundation. I'm adding a bit of my color fluid in Rising on my mixing palette, just in case I need to warm things up. And I will say that with this foundation, I find that a little goes a long way, otherwise it can be a little heavy. But that works in my favor because I really love to build up using thin layers. You can see how beautiful this match is on Paula. I'm buffing this in, and as usual, starting from the sides and moving inwards, using a synthetic tapered brush that's on the fluffy side. What I'm aiming to do now is just even out her skin tone and get that first thin layer of foundation all over. I can tap in certain areas to increase the coverage, but I'm really just looking to even out the skin at this point. Don't forget to take this down the neck as well. You don't need to use a lot of product when you do this. Whatever is left on the brush will do. I'm just matching a bit of that warmth. I usually go for foundations that aren't necessarily matte or dewy, something right in the middle. I will say that this can tend to be more on the dewy side, but I still think you can really manipulate the finish depending on how you prep and set the skin. And you'll get to see that later on as I use more powders to highlight and shape the face. As always, when I get to the forehead, I'm using less product in stippling motions because I'm going to bronze and highlight that area, and that will further add more product. And that is my foundation done, my first base layer. Still skin-like and very fresh. To match the glow and tones, I'm using a body luminizer. I love doing this. And for concealer, I'm using two shades, a base shade that matches her skin and a highlight shade. This is the KVD Good Apple Concealer. And with the brush, I'm going to start mapping out where I want to correct and highlight. So the inner corners and taking that down, and the outer corners to create a lift. Using a brush makes me apply a thin, even layer, and since I'm layering concealers, this will really help to make the product sit on the skin so much more beautifully. And this way I can be more strategic and mindful with where I want the concealer to go, instead of just swiping it around the face, going around the nose and on the chin to highlight. And I'm also applying this on the outer corners of the mouth. This also really highlights Paula's lips and brings focus to that area, between the brows and the lower center of the forehead. Now I can apply my highlight shade, which is more golden in tone, the center of the under eye, and further up around her nose to highlight and reverse contour the nose. I'm a huge fan of reverse contouring because it looks more fresh. A bit on the center of the chin and underneath the cheekbones to again reverse contour the cheeks and highlight the jaw. Paula has the most gorgeous cheekbones, so I'm even emphasizing the apples of her cheeks. Now I can start to tap and blend this in with a damp beauty blender. You don't want to rub the placement away, so gentle, quick tapping motions. Keep in mind our thin foundation layer. This thin concealer layer will blend seamlessly into it, so it's not as crazy as it might look, and definitely melts into the skin. With whatever's left, I'm gently going over the eyes. I will be using my color fluids, which are crease proof, so this is just to even things out with the rest of the base for unity. Gently blend the forehead as well. As you notice, there's even less product on the forehead because that's where I feel like the base can look a bit too heavy. I will say that when using fuller coverage products, the right undertone is so essential because there's less room for it to blend in with your skin tone. And that's why using a golden concealer can complement Paula's warmer undertones and create a beautiful contrasting highlight. And now I'm taking my color fluids, which are my vegan multi-use liquid pigments, and taking Rising, Carve, and Thorn to create a custom mix for Paula. I'm mixing the browns and adding that orange as I go to create a warm base, and applying that all over the eyelid. A thin, even layer. My color fluids are waterproof, crease-proof, and transfer resistant, so they're perfect for summer as well. They're basically not going anywhere, but you have time to blend them, and the consistency is super thin and pigmented. Now I'm taking Rising on its own, which is a fiery orange, and applying that as blush. I can control the intensity with the amount I apply, and I really want this beautiful warm blush on Paula. Going high up and feathering into the cheeks, always tapping and stippling. With whatever's left, I'm going on the edge of the forehead. For brows, I'm brushing them up and feathering in strokes to fill the outline of the shape. I'm following her natural shape, but keeping the ends fairly straight and sharp, almost following the direction of her eye shape, and feathering in that color. I really love the Kosas brow pencil. I think it's fantastic, and the consistency is on the drier side, which I love, and it's so pigmented. I don't get an unnecessary waxy layer that looks very shiny. And to be honest, after the brows are done, we could have just put some mascara and be done. I haven't done this in a while, but I'm going to give the brows more dimension with some brow powder, focusing that mainly on the tail of the brow. This really creates that stunning lifted brow shape and just adds more density to the brow, so we're playing with textures. And it does take away a bit of that shine peeking through the hair. You also don't want to completely fill in the brow. Do it in more random strokes so you still see different layers of brow and skin. I'm moving on to eyeshadow and taking my all-time favorite, my Beautopsy palette. This is an all-in-one, everything you need matte palette for the eyes and the face. I'm mixing feel and tan and using that to set and highlight the brow bone. This further shapes the eyes and the brows, creating an instant lift. This step will also help my crease work blend like a dream. Now I'm taking Intra, which is a chocolate brown, and I'm just starting to add depth to the outer crease. Blending up and out in circular motions, and softly working this into the crease, almost with whatever is left on the brush. Bringing it closer to the lash line to connect, blending that in. When I'm happy with the blend, I'm adding more intensity to the center of the areas where I've blended, creating more depth. Moving on to my eye tone pencil in the shade Intra. I'm lining the top lash line and starting from where we intensified that blend and moving towards the inner corner. This pencil is ultra creamy and I'm working it in very close to the lash line. It creates such a beautiful framework to the brown tones we used. And then going in with Intra from my palette, which is a matching shade. I'm setting the line work and diffusing it out into the blend. It's so satisfying when the tones match perfectly. And then I'm taking Feel and Tan again and packing that on the eyelid. This further emphasizes the browns that I used and creates this almost airbrushed spotlight effect that's super velvety. I love packing on eyeshadow with a medium flat shader brush to really create an even opaque finish. You don't want to use a brush that's too fluffy and loose because it might dust over all that shading work that you've done. So medium to small flat packer brushes. Small even pats around the area until you're happy with the smooth layer. For a brighter center, I'm using Tan on its own, focusing it in the center. Now that the majority of the eye work is done, I can set and highlight the face. I'm using two loose powders, one to match her skin and one to highlight. And with a fluffy brush, setting the under eyes. Taking that along the cheekbones and moving around the nose and T-zone with whatever's left. Pushing the powder into the skin, and I'm mixing both shades. Going over the nose, around the bridge, and the forehead, starting from the center. And now moving on to bronzer, to add even more of that dimension after we've powdered. So we set the highlights, now we set the bronze parts of the face. So around the forehead, tip and bridge of the nose, and of course the cheekbones. And then going back in with my Beautopsy palette, I'm taking Love Kills, which is the most beautiful red blush, and with a fluffier brush, blending this over the cheekbones and on the apples of the cheeks. Dusting whatever is left on the nose, chin, and forehead, creating the most beautiful, warm glow. I added mascara and individual lashes focusing on the outer corners. And with a fan brush, coating the lashes together, just for a seamless blend. This really gets into the root for a lift. Look at what a difference individually placed lashes make. They really complete a simpler eye look. For highlighter, I'm taking the Dior Backstage Highlighter, and then using it to strategically highlight certain points around Paula's face. So very lightly over the brow bone and cheekbones and going over that blush. I still want to keep the look overall quite matte, but I do want the skin to have a bit of that glow as she moves around. And after lashes, I love creating a really thin line along the lash line, and I'm using my hairline eyeliner. This has a brush tip, so it'll give me extreme precision, and it's super intense. I love my hairline eyeliner. As you can see, it's a very subtle line that just thickens the lash line even more without looking visible. I'm going back in with my pencil in Intra, and I'm using this to line her lips, starting from the Cupid's bow, feathering in the edges. And I really love using Intra as a lip liner. The pencils are a vegan formula, so you can use them anywhere. And after lining her lips and the edges of the corners, I'm keeping the center quite free. Now I'm taking my lip tone pencil in the shade Hush, which is a stunning caramel nude. I'm basically filling in the entire center of the lip. Again, this formula is so creamy and just glides onto the lips. And I'm blending this into the brown edges, creating a toasty caramel nude ombre lip. This combination on Paula is incredibly stunning. We did this for the visuals of the Monochromance collection as well as boy tears and the lipsticks and pencils. I'm in love. With my Monochromance palette, I'm topping the blush and highlighter with a bit of Heartthrob, which is more of a rusty terracotta shade. I wanted to match the tones in the lips, and this created more of that vibrant pop on the apples of the cheeks that fades beautifully into the red blush we used. Again, keeping all the colors in monochromatic harmony. This is what really makes the look so timeless. I mean, something as simple as adding that step to the cheeks really elevated the entire base and look, in my opinion. And that's why I love makeup so much. I'm adding a bit of that terracotta to the lower lash line as well, focusing on the outer parts, and blending that with a mix of the browns to mimic the work we've done on the lids. Doing my finishing touches and adding a bit of powder, a touch of blush, and topping up the lip. And that completes my timeless, classic glam on Paula that really enhances her features and unifies all these beautiful warm tones in a monochromatic harmony. This would look incredibly beautiful with a red lip or burgundy lip, really any sort of color. And the eyes can go shimmery, they can go metallic, and it would still look really, really balanced. I really hope you enjoyed this in-depth tutorial with the beautiful Paula, and I can't wait to show you what's next. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to my channel to see more of these videos and for next week's video, and I'll see you very soon. Bye.